Hello, guys. So we are about to draw the curtains on operant conditioning. So in case you've not watched the part one, make sure you do that and you take your notes, your brief notes. Okay. Now in this second part of operant conditioning or instrumental learning, we've explained why we call instrumental learning, and why it is stroke operant conditioning, and why it is called operant conditioning. Do well to abreast yourself with the first part of this very topic so that you'll be able to relate to the part two better. Okay, so once again, we are welcome. If you're watching this on YouTube, then definitely it should be on Faculty of Intellectual. So you're welcome, and make sure you subscribe, like, and then leave a comment of what you like us to do next. Okay. Okay, without wasting of much time, again, we are still using Dr. Eunice's slides for this peer-to-peer tutorials. Okay. Okay. So let's get started. What are we expecting in this session? In this session, we are expecting to go through or to know the various schedules of reinforcement. We're going to know different schedules. Okay. About continuous and partial schedules, continuous schedules and partial continuous schedule and partial schedules. Because partial, we have different types of partial. We have the ratio, and then we have the interval, and the ratio, we have the fixed ratio, and then uh, variable ratio. And then an interval, we have fixed interval and variable interval. So we'll be looking at this, and then we'll be looking at aversive conditioning. Okay, aversive meaning things that are unpleasant and how we try to get away from them. Okay, then we'll be looking at its applications. Okay, demonstrates so applications of operant conditioning in everyday situation. So that's application. So let's get started. Okay, so the schedules, we are starting with this. Continuous reinforcement. So when we talk about continuous reinforcement, and guys, like I said, try as much as possible to be making your short notes at this point. Okay, so you write something like continuous reinforcement. What does it mean? Okay, so that's the thing. So what does it mean? Tell yourself. Don't write it, because you may have the slides there to go to if you want. Okay, you have this video to revise with if you want. So you don't need to be writing them. Just write brief notes that which you will just take it in the morning, look at it, and it's very few, and you remember everything. Okay. Okay, so we have continuous reinforcement. What does it mean? Continuous reinforcement has no boundaries, or it's not time bound, and it's not about how do you call it, ratio. It's not about, okay, you do this number of times and you are being given this. Continuous reinforcement means you are being rewarded, okay, in accordance to every correct response you give, meaning response here means behavior. So if you are to do something, any correct behavior you put out there, meaning the desired behavior, the moment you do that behavior, you put out that behavior, you are being rewarded. Okay, you are being reinforced. So this reinforcement comes after every correct response. Okay, so that's continuous reinforcement. With partial, it has to do with either a period of time, that is interval, or a number of work you're supposed to do, which we'll come to that one later. So let's get into continuous. So continuous reinforcement here, the arrangement between response and consequences like here, we're talking of reinforcement, so reward. So the arrangement between response and consequence is such that reinforcement is provided after every desired or correct response. That's all. Okay? When you use this continuous reinforcement, learning occurs rapidly. Okay? Okay, so let's move to the next one. Partial reinforcement. So like I said, that's what we're going to have ratio and interval. So with partial reinforcement, it's not about every correct behavior or response being rewarded. With that one, it has either ratio or interval. So now let's discuss ratio. Let's discuss ratio. So under ratio, we have two types of the ratio. We have the fixed ratio and then variable ratio. Fixed ratio and variable ratio. Let me go see that here. Okay, fixed ratio, FR, and variable ratio, that's VR. So let's talk about fixed ratio. So when we say fixed ratio, now ratio means like, you see, let's say we are two and we are sharing 4 cedis. We say 2:1 or 1:2. Okay. So let's say for me, each one of us, we are taking 2. Okay, because it's 4 cedis. So 1:2, 1:2. You understand? That's ratio. Okay. Now we have fixed ratio. We are talking of reinforcement. Don't forget. We have fixed ratio. Fixed ratio, let me bring it into the business world. Remember, we have to apply these things in daily life. So I'll be using such examples. Let's talk about some companies that will be like, let's say you go and take loaves of bread, and they'll be like, if you sell 10 loaves of bread, you have a commission of 1 bread. So that's your commission. So you see, they said 10:1. So if you sell 20, then 2. Now in rewarding behavior, this is kind of rewarding behavior. Okay, so that this one, since they said if you sell 10, yours is 1. Okay, so 1:10. Okay, this is fixed ratio. So you can't sell 3 and they'll give you 2, or you sell 1 and they'll give you 3. It's fixed. Okay, and this happens in various phases of life. Okay, so for example, if you are to work 15 days in a month, meaning 2 weeks, you'll be paid 2,000 cedis. So if you work for a month, that's, let's say 30 days or 4 weeks, how much would you be given? You'll be paid 4,000. Or you are being given a tax. If you finish a file, if you finish 1 file, you'll be given, 1 file is to, let me say, 20 cedis. So it depends on how many files you finish and the reward you're going to gain, and it is fixed. What of variable ratio? Variable ratio is from the word variable. It varies. That one is not fixed. You may finish 2 and they'll give you 20 cedis. Okay, the next day you finish 3. How much are they supposed to give you? Meaning 30 cedis, right? But then they give you 20 cedis again. You finish 4. How much are they at least supposed to give you? The next day you finish 4 and they give you 200 Ghana cedis. So here, the reinforcement is not fixed. So that is variable ratio. Now let's come to interval. Whilst ratio is dealing with the number of accomplishment you achieve brings the reward. Fixed interval deals with time. Interval deals with time. Okay, so let's say if you are to work, even the one I used using the example I gave using how do you call it? The days of the days like 2 weeks and 1 month. I think that should even be under interval. That should be under interval, yes. So let's say there will be like, if you work, normally at workplaces, Those who deal with overtime thing. If you do overtime, 1 hour is 20 cedis, or 1 hour is 50 cedis. Okay. So let me, for the sake of learning, let me say 1 hour is to 10 cedis. Fixed interval means that if you work for, so fixed interval here deals with the time. So it means that it's not about the production you are given. It's not about the number of files you are dealing with. It's not about the number of loaves of bread, the number of loaves of bread you are producing. It's about the time you are spending on doing the thing. So if you are to spend 1 hour, you'll be given 10 cedis. 2 hours will be what? 20 cedis. 3 hours will be how much? 30 cedis. So that's fixed interval according to the time. So variable interval, what do you think that will be? Variable interval, let's say today you spent 1 hour, then you were given 10 cedis. The next day you spent 2 hours and you were given 10 cedis. The third day you did 3 hours and you were given 10 cedis. You did the fourth day and you were given 100 cedis. So you see, it's not about, yes, there's time, but it is not fixed. So that is variable interval. And I think we are done with this. So let me rush quickly to aversive conditioning. Aversive conditioning, when you say aversive, that is something unpleasant, okay? Something unpleasant. That's aversive. Aversive conditioning. And if something is not pleasant, how do we deal with those things? So let's start with escape. Escape conditioning. So with escape conditioning, it's about how to, how do you call it? It's the same like running away from a condition, but then you be conditioned in a way that you remember. Operant conditioning is about, okay, if I do this and there's positive outcome, I'll continue to do it. If there's negative outcome or a painful outcome, I'll not do it again, or I'll be careful when doing it the next time, right? Okay, so with escape, it's like running away from something, right? Something happens to you, the thing has happened. How do you deal with it? There's an example here, like when you start feeling headache, you see the headache is already there. How do you get rid of it? So we quickly go and buy what? Painkiller. So the painkiller is like a reward to get rid of a pain. Okay. So we take painkillers. What happens when we are hungry? Okay. When you are hungry, you take in food, right? To quench the hunger. If not, you die. You understand? So when you start eating and you scrub, it's already eating and you scrub. That is escape conditioning. Now, you have to differentiate escape conditioning from avoidance. Avoidance learning. We'll come to that. Avoidance with escape, the thing has already happened to you, like pain. Okay, like itchy. Your body is itchy, like itching. Okay, like hungry. Okay, like you are married and you are feeling horny. It's already there. What do? You go to your wife or you go to your husband. Okay, so it's like with that one, the thing has already happened. How do you escape from it? How do you get out of it? Okay, so that is escape conditioning. And I've given you the examples such as itching, hunger, um, pain, or feeling for sex and all that. So the thing has already happened, okay? Next is avoidance learning. With avoidance, the thing is now coming. There are symptoms. So with avoidance, the key word here is symptoms. There are symptoms. So you need to get rid of it. There's example like when you are driving and then the forward gauge shows red, falls on the red thing. Okay, I say falls on the red lights start to pop. Some people's own are like, I think, yellow, start to pop. Okay. What is that telling you? You are not in danger yet, but it's telling you that you'll be in danger soon. So you avoid that by diving into the forward station, right? So that's avoidance. Okay. Now, what are we all doing right now? What are we all doing right now? Whilst you are here, why are you watching this video? If you're here, why are you reading your slides? That is avoidance. We've learned to avoid certain situations by doing certain things. So for us to avoid failure, to avoid receipts, we are seated and we are learning. Because you've seen someone failed because, or you yourself, you failed before because you got an F or E because you didn't study or you didn't study well. So this time around, what you are doing right now is avoidance learning. You want to avoid failure. Okay, so what do you have to do? Learning. So the learning you are doing now, the studies we do, is to avoid failure. So that is an example of avoidance learning. The next one is learned helplessness. Learned helplessness. Now, in the university, for example, I'm using the university for us, so because we can relate to that. There are some people, we've tried avoidance, we've tried the escape. Okay, we try to escape, we try the avoidance, and they will still give you unpleasant marks, like C. Some of us, especially D, we hate to say D. Some of us will say that for you to give us D, give us F. But anyways, it's better to have a D than to go for receipt. Anyway, if you don't know, it's better. Okay? Because do not, don't let me go there. But if you get a D, manage that one and say you're going to get an F. Maybe one day we'll explain that later. Okay, or maybe you watch my video on the calculation of CGP and GPA, FGP, and the rest. So it's better to get a D. But this is a case you've actually studied. From level 100, you experience that this particular lecturer, no matter how you study, I don't know your experience with ACA writing, but like ACA writing. Anyways, there are some lecturers, not only ACA writing, they are there in the business school. Some of them are there in the psychology department. Some of them are there. Various departments, they are there. In every department, I think we have one wizard or witch like that. No matter what you do, the D is constant or the C is constant. So now what do you do now? What do you do now? Level 100 first semester, you experience. Level 100 second semester, you experience the same thing from that lecture. Level 200, you experience the same thing. From level 3, do you know what will happen? You will develop a kind of learning called helplessness. It's like you deal with the situation. There's nothing you can do with it. There's no way out. So you just be in it. The most important thing is to pass the exams, right? So that is learned helplessness. It's like those of us who are in the hostels. Sometimes you complain and complain and complain that your fan is not working. You are sweating, and these people will not do anything about it. And what would you do? You don't have anywhere to sleep. So your system will develop a mechanism to be used to it. Okay, with your mommy, like anything that will happen should happen. You understand? Okay. So we are done with this one too. Punishment. This one I wish you read them yourself. We talk about punishment, right? So punishment we use it to weaken undesired behaviors or to discourage undesired behaviors or inappropriate behaviors. Okay. So side effect of punishment. This one too you can read on your own and you will understand. The recipient begins to fear the person who administers punishment. So if you are punishing someone, you continue to do that, the person is going to develop fear towards you. So if you're a parent, the person may fear to come and even tell you certain things. Okay, severe punishment can make a person become timid and lose self-confidence. Recipients, I'm just reading this because these ones are normally we will understand them. Recipients may become used to punishment. Okay, and like they will develop like sensory adaptation or habituation. It will not do them anything. So punishment, especially physical punishment, can lead to aggression, to make the person very aggressive. These are all side effects of punishment. Punishment can cause physical mayhem to recipients. Okay, so now making punishments work. How do you make punishment effective? So these are the factors to make punishment effective. One is timing. Timing. Punishment should be given, like it should be, you remember the, how do you call it? Contiguity or contingency. It should like be together or it should come right after the wrongdoing, the inappropriate behavior or the undesired behavior. It should follow it. You know, some of our parents, when you do something in the morning, which is wrong, or in the afternoon, they'll just tell you that, or they'll just look at you and be like, You will go and soak cane. You will forget about what you've done. 3 days later, you'll be sleeping in the middle of the night. The cane has been soaked for 3 days. They will wipe your back. I don't know if some parents still do it. Wipe your back from the sleep. Cane you are. Later, they will remind you of what you've done. You did it. You did this. Do you remember what you've done? Okay, so it shouldn't be like that. Punishment should come right after the wrong or the inappropriate behavior. Consistency. There are some people, their punishment is not consistent. The child insulted him or her, she canes the child, or she rebukes the child, or she sees something from the child, any form of punishment. But the child did the same thing to a neighbor, insult to a neighbor, the same wrong or inappropriate behavior was displayed to the neighbor, and he didn't punish the kid. This is inconsistency. Punishment should be consistent. Okay, that's what it means. Intensity. The punishment should be intense enough for the person to feel it. Let's ask you're punishing. Let's say the child did something. You know, the child loves a game, okay? A particular game. Okay, he has a game, PS, whatever. For me, I'm not a friend of games. Or you bought the child a tablet. If you seize that tablet, you know that is going to affect the child that much. Then you didn't seize that one, you went to seize his pen. See, this is not intense. You must seize the tablet or the laptop or the game. You understand? That the child is going to feel it. It must be intense. It must be felt. Then the duration. The duration should also be accurate. And that's why I think it is even said here. This explains why our legal system has specified jail term duration for specific crimes. Imagine how do you call someone steals, let's say, yam, and for that person, you give the person 10 years. Someone stole millions of dollars, and then you said the person should go for 1 week or 1 month. Don't you think the person will repeat that thing again? So we should look at the duration as well. Oh, you see, I'm not accepting anyone today. Today I'm doing my recording and then I'll post it for you guys, okay? Okay. Better still, it's not always for you to, there's some behaviors you need to teach the child, or before you even punish the child, you have to advise the child on alternative behavior. Say, next time, do it this way, okay? Because you didn't do it that way, you receive this punishment. I'm seizing your phone, or this and this and that, or I'm giving you 2 lashes, I'm giving you some lashes, so that you remember, next time, do it this way, okay? So that's teaching alternative behavior. Application. So we'll discuss about this. How can we, I've mentioned this, the game thing I'm mentioning, the school things I've mentioned, they are all application of operant conditioning. The application of operant conditioning. At home, education, industrial, I've mentioned about the commission thing and all that. Okay, so on this note, guys, Brian, the next thing we're going to do is to discuss observational learning, 7:30 tonight. If you have been able to watch up to this level, I believe that you've made your notes. Okay, you've made your notes right from the beginning, and it shouldn't, like I said, it should be very few jots. Okay, that you can take and you remember all the session. Okay, so you remember the schedules. Remember the schedules. Schedules. We said we have 2 types: continuous schedule and partial schedule. Partial, we have 2 types of partial. We have ratio and we have interval. Ratio have to do with the number of production, okay? And interval has to do with the number of time or the period of time, okay? We said ratio, we have fixed ratio and variable ratio with, how do you call it? Interval, we also have fixed and variable interval, okay? Then we came to how do you call it? The aversive conditioning, such as escape learning or conditioning avoidance. We also came to, how do you call it? Remember the next thing we did? After avoidance, we did um, learned helplessness, okay? And all that until we got to this level, the effect of punishment and also, how do you call it? Um, if, factors that affect punishment, okay? And then application. Okay, so the application, when I'm creating the examples I give are all applications, okay? Okay, so we'll be solving the past questions and we'll talk about how to tackle the questions, especially the essay parts, okay? And also solve some feelings and objectives. On this note, the next is observational learning.